Hey, I'm Nancy Cavey. I'm a national ERISA and individual disability attorney. Welcome to Winning Isn't Easy. I'm often asked, why do I do what I do? My dad was a naval aviator in World War II and he fought in the Pacific. After the war, he joined the family business, Cavey and Sons Insurance Agency in Baltimore, Maryland. He purchased a disability insurance policy through USF&G, and he never thought he'd have to stop working and apply for his benefits. But when I was in junior high school, he was diagnosed with leukemia. By the time I graduated from high school, he had made the difficult decision to stop work and apply for his disability insurance benefits. Our world was turned upside down. I know what it's like to be part of a family where the breadwinner is disabled and unable to work. I graduated from college in 3 years with the hope that he would live to see me graduate, but he died several weeks before my graduation. He knew I was going to law school to help disabled policyholders and families just like you get the disability benefits you deserve. When my father filed a claim, there weren't any books or podcasts about disability insurance. As a way to honor my father, I've written several books, including the Disability Insurance Claim Survival Guide for Professionals, and I'm starting this podcast. I hope you enjoy it and look forward to your feedback. Before we get started, I've got to give you a legal disclaimer. This podcast is not legal advice, but the Florida Bar Association says I have to say this. So I've said it, but nothing prevents me from giving you an easy to understand overview of your disability policy, the games that disability insurance carriers play, and what you need to know to get the disability benefits you paid for. So off we go. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about the basics of ERISA and IDI policies, disability insurance policy myths. Did your employer or your professional association, like the AMA or the ADA, offer you the best possible disability insurance policy? And why knowing the definition of your occupation can mean the difference between getting your LTD benefits or getting your benefits denied. So when we come back, I'll begin. Welcome back. Let's start with the basics of ERISA and IDI policies. If you have a short-term disability or long-term disability policy through your employer or purchased a disability policy for yourself, there were many things that you need to know about your policy. In my discussion with association leaders, employers, insurance agents, and clients, it's clear that there's a lot of misinformation about the differences between an ERISA disability policy and an IDI policy, and the advantages or disadvantages of each type of policy. I'm glad you're on this podcast with me and you want to learn more about buying a disability insurance policy or the policy that you have. Now, many policyholders will make assumptions about their policies that I think can end up biting them. And one of the many assumptions is that every policy is the same. If I'd ask you if you have an ERISA or an individual disability policy, you probably don't know. And you don't know the important differences between the two. Not knowing that difference can destroy your peace of mind and shred your financial security. So let's talk about the 8 things you need to know about an ERISA disability policy first, and then I'm going to talk about the 8 things that you need to know about an individual disability insurance policy. So what are those 8 things that you need to know? Well, the first thing is that ERISA has its origin in the Jimmy Hoffa pension scandal. I don't know if you remember the movie The Irishman, but there's a great quote that says, in a war, you go from point A to point B, and sometimes you spill some beer along the way. Well, in the case of Jimmy Hoffa, he didn't spill beer, he stole money. He stole the pension money from the Teamsters. And ultimately, he got caught, went to jail, and we have no idea where he is since he's been released from prison. But the important thing here is that Congress wanted employers to offer employees benefits. They wanted them to offer life insurance, disability insurance benefits, group health, and pension benefits. And while insurance companies said, hey, we really want to be in the group health, life, and disability insurance benefits business, we don't want to be in federal court. And as a result, they were able to convince the Congress that there should be in disability insurance clauses something called a get out of jail free card or an arbitrary and capricious discretionary clause of review. And that's going to be important, as I'll discuss later. The Employer Retirement Income Security Act was enacted in 1974, and that's the basis for the ERISA disability policy world. The second thing you need to know is that this is governed by federal law. Now, this will govern most group disability policies offered by employers, universities, and professional associations. There are two exceptions, and they're important exceptions. The first exception is that a disability insurance policy offered by a state or federal government, like the city of St. Petersburg, Pinellas County, or the state of Florida, is governed by state law, not ERISA law. The second thing, or second exception, is that disability policies offered by a religious organization or its affiliates, like Adventist Hospital, are also governed by state law. I will tell you, though, that many times the hospital-based policies are such that they're going to argue that it's an ERISA policy, and obviously it's going to come down to case law. But for the most part, these policies are governed by state law. Number three, well, there's no law that says the employer has to offer a disability insurance policy, much less any benefits. And unfortunately, there's little federal oversight. So many times I find that employers have offered a disability policy thinking they're doing a great thing, but they really have no idea what they're offering to you. Number four is that the ERISA disability insurance system is shaped by the insurance industry. For example, Unum and Cigna were involved in a multi-state insurance investigation that resulted in fines and other penalties because they used liar-for-hire peer review providers who always disagreed with the treating physician's restrictions and limitations. They used liar-for-hire independent medical evaluators who would perform an examination that questioned whether the policyholder was exaggerating their symptoms during the independent examination and questioning the restrictions and limitations assigned by the policyholder's doctors. And worse yet, they got fined and sanctioned for paying claims adjusters and others bonuses for denying or terminating claims. A nasty world. The fifth thing you need to understand is that disability carriers operate under a golden rule. Now, Liberty, Standard Reliance, Mutual of Omaha use their own golden rule. It's not the golden rule that we were taught by our mothers and fathers. Their rule is you collect gold and we're going to rule that we don't have to pay you. So they collect your premium dollars, and when you apply for benefits, they rule against you. Number six is that get out of free jail card that I mentioned earlier. There's that discretionary clause in a disability insurance policy that really will handcuff the federal judge in trying to let the judge overturn a wrongful denial. Some states have banned discretionary clauses, and that is a great thing. And I'm going to talk about that more next week, about the unlevel playing field that the discretionary clause creates for policyholders like you. Number seven is there are lots of takeaways from your benefits. Many of these policies will have other income provisions that say, look, if you collect Social Security disability benefits, or your minor dependent collects it, or even worse, are just eligible for those benefits, we get to subtract the amount of that Social Security from the gross amount of your disability benefits. There are also other takeaways in the form of condition clauses. So there might be a mental nervous condition clause that says, look, we'll only pay you for 2 years if you're disabled as a result of a mental or nervous condition. There are even subjective medical conditions that will limit the payment of benefits to just 2 years for subjective conditions that can be defined as things like fibromyalgia or migraines. And number 8, an ERISA disability policy is cheap, and it's cheap because the cost is spread among a pool of the policy holders. Remember, though, you get what you pay for. Well, how about the 8 things that you need to know about ERISA in the summary form? Well, they are the origin in the Jimmy Hoffa pension scandal. It's governed by federal law. There's no law that the employer has to offer it to you, and it's got limited federal oversight. Their ERISA disability system is shaped by the insurance industry and not by employers. There's the golden rule. There's the get out of jail free card discretionary clause. There are takeaways that can make your policy worthless, and it's cheap. Got it? Okay, so let's talk about IDI policies in the next segment when we return.
Have you been robbed of your peace of mind from your disability insurance carrier? You owe it to yourself to get a copy of Robbed of Your Peace of Mind, which provides you with everything you need to know about the long-term disability claim process. Request your free copy of the book at caveylaw.com today.